Hello, my name's Peter. I'm 60 years of age, and I work on the railway. And in 2019, July 14th, I was diagnosed with advanced prostate cancer. I was being treated by my GP for back pain, and I hadn't had any indication from my GP that I had cancer until I collapsed at home and ended up having to be rushed from Northampton General Hospital to Leicester Royal Infirmary for emergency surgery to remove a tumour from my spine, which had paralysed me from basically the mid-chest down. That was confirmed as being prostate cancer 2 days later, the day after my 57th birthday. The cancer had left the prostate, had gone through my lymph nodes and attached itself to my spine where the tumour had grown and basically crushed my spinal cord. And once it's done that, there's no going back, to be honest. At that point in time, I hadn't felt any issues or worries about what was happening to me. I just felt grateful to the medical teams for their prompt action in removing the tumour. It wasn't till I was transferred to Northampton General Hospital that I really started feeling the effects of the enormity of being told I had cancer. When you transferred from one hospital to the other, they keep you in a little ante-room to yourself with the door closed. And in my case, I didn't have any distractions because the television didn't work in there. And your brain then started running wild on what was going to happen to me. And it wasn't till the Macmillan nurse came in to see me on the Monday morning that I really understood the enormity of what was happening to me, not just physically but mentally. And the Macmillan team gave me great support while I was undergoing my treatment in Northampton General Hospital. Following being released from hospital, I then obviously had to recover from the surgery for about 8 weeks before I was brought back into the hospital to be assessed for radiotherapy. And I had 5 sessions of radiotherapy on the site of the tumour, which was a little bit more complicated because my tumour was very close to my heart. So they had to be very careful on firing the radioactive stuff, however it works, in me. And then I underwent 5 sessions of chemotherapy. Whilst undergoing all that, having injections to treat the cancer with a hormonal injection, which was initially whilst in hospital on a daily basis, but once I left hospital it was on a monthly basis initially, and then I now have that every 3 months as an ongoing treatment. For me, the chemotherapy wasn't that bad, in the fact that, okay, I did lose my hair, some of which has never come back. I used to have quite a hairy chest. I don't have any hairs on my chest at all now. And I didn't suffer from any of the sickness or the sore throats that you hear about. All that chemotherapy did for me was basically made me feel extremely lethargic 2 or 3 days after the actual chemotherapy for maybe 24 to 48 hours. But after that, I was generally all right and could carry on normal. I wasn't working through this. My company had basically signed me off until the chemotherapy was finished. And they looked after me and made sure I was all right financially. So I'm very grateful for their support. After I finished my chemotherapy, I've had ongoing treatment, which is medication daily, and that's changed a couple of times since 2019 to control the PSA levels in my prostate. If I tell you my prostate score on the day I had surgery was 480, and my prostate score at the moment is 4.9. So I have 4 weekly checkups, which is a bit of a bind, but it means going to the hospital to have blood tests. Then it used to be, before COVID struck, coming in to see a doctor. Now it's all done over the phone. So it takes a bit of the personal touch away from it, which can be a bit frustrating. But the fact that my phone calls are normally pretty short and sweet with the oncologist is, for me, is quite reassuring, because obviously they think I'm in a fairly decent place. The damage to my spinal cord has never recovered, and I can't generally always feel my left foot or know where my left foot is spatially, and it stopped me doing things I used to enjoy. So I used to do a lot of swimming. I cannot do that anymore because I can't coordinate my feet with my arms. For me, though, the positive is they haven't told me it's immediately life-threatening. The consultant did tell me I could either die of it or die with it, and he couldn't diagnose what would be what. So there is a positive there for me, and I live every day trying to keep that positive, because as soon as you don't keep the positive and you dwell on the negative, then it affects your mental health. And I've been there. I know what it's like to affect your mental health. Unfortunately for me, I have a reminder every time in my granddaughter, because every time I see her, she reminds me of the day I was having my surgery, because she was born on the same day as I was having my surgery. And when I went in for surgery, I was only given a 50-50 chance of surviving the surgery, so I didn't know whether I was going to ever see my granddaughter. So she's a constant reminder of how lucky I am, and not to take the fact that how unlucky I am to have cancer. When I first came to Northampton, one of the first people to identify to me that I was having mental issues with it was my Macmillan nurse that was allocated to me, and I can't thank her enough for what she did. Also, she was just there to offload on, a shoulder to cry on, because you will cry, there's no doubt about it. So don't think you can be a big macho man and say, I'm going to deal with this and not cry. You will cry. It's very, very mentally challenging at times. So it's important that you have something to do. I've gone off and sort of regressed to my childhood a little bit. I took up going back to doing things like model railway, which I used to love doing when I was a kid. I'm building a model railway in my garage. And also I do a lot of stuff with technical Lego, because it just keeps my mind occupied. I read a lot more as well, which is something I started doing when I was in hospital. If you have got any issues, talk to somebody. So there's plenty of help groups out there to talk to. I'm lucky enough to have help at work if I want to talk to work, or I can come and talk to the Macmillan team in Northampton. It's important for men to note that if you're over a certain age, you have to ensure that you look out for the signs and symptoms of prostate cancer, which are basically mainly around your waterworks. If you're getting up during the night regularly to go to the toilet, and I don't mean you've been out all night on a session, it's just a normal night and you're getting up regularly to go to the toilet, or when you get there, nothing wants to happen, or you're straining when you get there, then you really need to be looking to get yourself checked out. Men, we're very, very good at not going to see our GPs, our dentists, whatever you want to talk about in the way of medical treatment. Don't be nervous about seeing your GP. You'll find that the GPs and the medical teams would rather it was something or nothing than having to put you through what I'm going through as an individual. Once you've been diagnosed, there's no going back. If you're diagnosed early enough and it hasn't left the prostate, then you can be cured. I don't have that option, unfortunately. It will always be there. So yeah, if you're showing signs, and ladies that are watching this, if you think your partners are showing signs of it, nag the hell out of them, get them down the doctors, and especially if they're over 40, get them looked at.